Hello, my name is Jan Glor, and welcome to the Harlem Times, bringing news to Harlem and the Harlems of the world. Today, we are speaking with Deryl McKissack, one of the premier architects in our nation. Through her firm, McKissack and McKissack, she has spearheaded a variety of nationally acclaimed works, such as the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial and the Museum of African American History. She's also a member of the McKissack family, a group of African American engineers and architects whose roots date back to the late 1800s and have been leaders in American innovation in construction and design. Personal story, growing up and how that has related to your family's firm.
Yeah, well, I grew up in a wonderful household. I had awesome parents and great sisters. No brothers. I always wished I had a brother. So we had a lot of play brothers growing up. But I, grew up knowing on the business side, my father's business, which was design and construction. Worked in the office. My sister and I started working in the office at 6 years old. Of course, we weren't doing anything. It was on Saturdays. And, my mother was just trying to get us out of the house. So my father would take us on Saturdays and he would prop us up on drawing tables and have us draw. And by the time we were 13, he started really using our drawings. So we had this one track with our father who was showing us the practical world, I would say, the practical business world of actually working and producing product. And then we had our mother on the other side who was always building our confidence and always making sure that not only did we study, but we also had to know world events. So every day before we could go out and play, we had to read an article out of Time magazine. And we laugh now, and she said, "Well, you think it was bad? I had to read the whole magazine because I didn't know what article you were going to pick." And I said, "Well, you could just pick the shortest one. That's the one I always pick."
Going to your projects, which projects are you really the most proud of?
I am very proud of all of our projects because if I look at the projects that we work on now, they are really here to enhance people's lives and to make the world a better place. Whether it be one of our cultural projects like the Lincoln and Jefferson Memorial upgrades, the Martin Luther King Memorial in National Mall, any of our presidential libraries, all of those make people think about our past, where are we going in the future? It changes mindsets. That's really exciting. A lot of our projects have changed the faces of cities in the sense that, they're in the skyline, and they've changed skylines. A lot of our projects have changed the lives of kids, which is really near and dear to me. All of the K through 12 work that we do. We have one of the largest K through 12 practices in urban areas in the country. So all of them, whether it's a bridge, a road, people need all of that to get around, whether it's an airport, everybody used to use an airport to get to where they're going. And so how useful is that? Extremely so.
When I was talking to your sister, she told me that when your mother became an executive in the 1980s, she had to deal with a lot of criticism, a lot of hardship. Do you still experience this in an industry? And if you do, how do you deal with this?
I do. And, my mother, she was a very strong woman, and thank God she was, because she made it through, right? But in her time, I think that she dealt with a lot of discrimination for being a woman in a man's world, more so than anything else. I feel like I do get that too. During that time, growing up, starting, going through my early years, I did experience more discrimination for being a woman. But also it's been for being a minority firm. I mean, that has happened in more recent years. where you're seeing more women in the industry, but yet minority firms are still treated differently, treated as if we're not as good as the majority firms, or the innuendo is there. It's not necessarily anything somebody says, but then wait, I take that back, because they were microaggressions. They're always like, are you sure you can do this? And after you tell them all the monuments, all the great projects you finished successfully, by the way, with commendation letters, it still comes back to, but can you really do this job? And I've seen that over and over. So it is definitely still there. We're still having to deal with it. And it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate because we cannot afford to fail. Minority firms and women-owned firms, we know if we fail once, it's not going to just hurt us and we're totally out, but it's going to hurt firms coming behind us. Where I see large majority firms failing all the time and they get the job again.
This takes us to the sponsor of this interview, Chase Bank.
What's going on, people? Surprise!
I've never had a savings account.
Debt is piling up.
I get afraid to check my bank account.
I don't have a job yet.
Let's go to it. 2, 1, let's
Go,
go.
come on. It's a credit card
Get
right
that
here.
credit card,
Come on.
stinking card. Question number 1, who is better with budgeting?
Welcome to my room.
A lot of shoes with a lot of outfits.
Yes.
Are we budgeting on the right things?
If you put the work into it, then it has no choice but to get better.
We gotta do some work.
Little work.
What's a little word? Like, did the computer blow up? Savings today, rewards tomorrow. This is a financial flow. Once you
Come on, brother. I've been teaching you this for a long time.
you now have your eyesight set on something far ahead. Here's the good news. You both can do it together.
Now I'm ready to make this thing happen.
Yes plus yes equals yes.
And that's the heart of it all.
And now, after our short intermission, we are going back to Deryl. Could you tell me about your philanthropic work?
Yeah, so I'm on the board of Living Classrooms, which works with kids to help them build their interests in STEM. Mm-hmm. And they use boats as a technique. The person who started this had a huge sailboat, and the interest of the sailboat makes kids ask a lot of questions about the buoyancy of water and how does energy work, and wind, and all these things. So, but it's grown much more from just that. And so, we just have, it's a great venue, I'd say, into the science and the math. And engineering and technology. So that's one. And then I like art. So I've worked with I've been on the board of the Perez Museum down here in Miami. And we do a lot of community events, well, we used to pre-COVID, and trying to get the community interested in the arts. During COVID, I switched my philanthropic focus to feeding people, and so worked with different organizations that were food banks and getting food to people who needed it.
Tying back into education for yourself, I know you attended Howard. How important was going to an HBCU?
Very important, because my sister and I had gone to the same school from kindergarten to the 12th grade, and there were only 3 Black people in our class. Everybody else was white or Jewish. And because this is Nashville, there was no other ethnic group there. That was it. And so we always wanted to go to a historically Black college and university just to see what it's like to not be the person that's different in the classroom. And different on the football fields and whatever. And so it was a beautiful experience. And the teachers there, you know, took a strong, they had a strong commitment to the students and our success. And they were tough on us. But, you know, we're the better for it, I would say. So I enjoyed it. So much fun. Going back to our culture, understanding our culture better, seeing the different types of diversity in our culture as African Americans, and experiencing that. I enjoyed it a lot.
If you would like to hear the rest of our interview with Deryl McKissack and read our other stories, please visit theharlemtimes.com.